Hi, everybody. I think you can probably see me. Welcome to our holographic healing, interdimensional healing, super magical bonus class. Yay, you can see me. We're live, and I'm so excited to be talking to you today about one of my favorite subjects. So super excited about today. And what I'm going to tell you is... so we'll talk about that. So what I want to tell you is today is kind of like it's a little mini class. It's a bonus class. It's a primer or a primer, depending on how your accent goes. Just to kind of wet your feet a little bit. And if this is something that ends up being really interesting to you guys, it's really lovely to see you. Thank you, Alexis.
You're welcome. There you go.
Okay, so this is what's in most of the situations?
Yes,
okay.
double check.
Okay, cool. So if you end up, hi Cindy, if you end up really being into this and wanting more, then we'll do more. I mean, this is, what we're talking about tonight is like a never-ending source of inspiration and information. For me anyway, because I'll tell you something, I feel very strongly about our capacity to heal ourselves. And that's like, I already want more. I really do. And every time I teach you something, like I taught this last year for sabbatical, I taught a similar kind of bonus class, but I've done multiple medicine journeys since then. I've begun work with a different teacher since then. So I will tell you, like, I've even evolved since I talked to you about this last time. And so I'm hoping today you're really going to enjoy. I'm going to tie it more to your DNA today. I have had so. Do you remember from last year? So I'm hoping I'm going to build on, what I shared with you last year. Nothing that I shared with you last year is different. Like, I still believe that that's good wisdom. But I think I have more to offer you now. At least I hope I do. I really like to think that every time I up-level my own understanding, my own awareness, that I bring you along for the ride. And vice versa. I mean, a lot of you are up-leveling too and adding to your wisdom and base. And every time you do that, I feel like I up-level. So it's true. We level up. And then we bring each other along for the ride. This ride isn't interesting to me if I don't have you. It's just not. I have really given this a lot of thought because I have friends who talk about spending the later years of their life in like monasteries or, vows of silence and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, if I can't do this work in community and see and hear and experience how the transmission of that information helps shape other people's lives, then for me, the whole process isn't not nearly as fulfilling. Well, thank you for that, Jessica. You make it special, too. You really do. Okay, so I do want to say, and not that I have to say this to any of you, but what we're talking about tonight is physics. It's science. It's not woo-woo. It's not, that's what those crazy magical people think. It's this is legit. And I actually have doctor friends. I have doctor friends who are starting to say some of these things out loud. And so it's like, you know what, this is interesting to me because I believe everything I'm about to tell you tonight. I've experienced it. By every medical explanation, I shouldn't be as healthy as I am. And, I think I shared with you when I saw my neurologist a couple weeks ago, she was like, well, I don't know if the stuff that you do really helps. I can't say whether it helps or hurts or whatever, but all I know is you're healthier than most of my patients who have had MS, diagnosed for 10 years and, and lost vision in both eyes. Like, I don't have a lot of patients like you. So she's like, I don't know. Right? So Carolyn, right? Carolyn can probably attest, I think. It's like there is and I know I'm a scientist by training, right? I'm a PhD researcher, so I'm trained to value double-blind studies where we have, a controlled laboratory setting where we have a test group and a placebo group, and where we can actually affirm that studies are double-blind. And I come from that background, and so when I tell you things, like, just know I've already kind of pressure tested a lot of these things, because I'm not, and Melissa too. So just know, like, you're surrounded by people in this group who really value science too. And I like data. I like to have information. I like to have insight. And what frustrates me about metaphysics, to a certain extent, is we don't have data. You know, like, I keep trying to replicate scenarios, but because energy is so amorphous and because life itself is so multidimensional, it's very hard to say, well, I can prove that A causes B, absent, sort of a clean laboratory setting. But I can tell you that A is highly correlated with B. I may not be able to establish a causal relationship, but I can establish a strong corollary relationship. And I will tell you, for me, for right now, that's good enough. I really do believe that if I was just moving along a Western path, I would be in a different physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional place than I am right now. And so, for whatever that's worth, and you can see the feed, you've got some really rockin' science friends in our feed, so... Okay. So I want to say first, I like to define my terms. Have you... I have friends who talk about this stuff. And I would say, of like the half dozen people I know who really talk about it, like in their sort of professional lives, right? I would say half of those people make it sound either ridiculous or insane. Like, they talk about it, it's all confusing, it sounds mumbo jumbo. They're talking about, light body activation, but they don't really talk about what that means, and it sounds like just stuff you would shut down on YouTube in 30 seconds. And then the other half of my friends who talk about it are quantum physicists who still blanket it in so much defined scientific language that it's absent the magic. So part of what I'm trying to do tonight is sit between woo-woo and dry as a bone. And because they're both talking about magic, but the one is afraid to talk about magic for magic's sake, and the other because they don't want to be discounted as scientists, and the other one doesn't quite know how to talk about magic unless they swirl around it with words that don't mean anything. I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I'm just saying nobody talks about this, at least in my experience, in a way that you can make heads or tails of. And my test is, can you explain this to a friend of yours who doesn't believe in magic? If I prepare you to do that, then I have done my job. If a friend of yours is like, what the hell are you even talking about? If I prepare you to give like a cocktail napkin little speech about what interdimensional and quantum healing is, and it makes sense to them, then we're good. So let me try and define my terms. That was one of my primary tasks as a researcher when I went into studies and study groups, was let's define our terms. Okay, so, and yes, Team SG is taking notes, so you just need to relax and pay attention for the next 40 minutes or so. Give me your undivided, unless you want to draw pictures, which is totally up to you. Do you know that I can't really learn well unless I'm doing something else? I can't really sit and just listen to somebody for an hour and not do something else. I would be drawing or, kind of doing something else, but I'm still paying attention because it's how I process information. So, and we have to be careful because in the West, what we tell people is pay attention. You need to be looking. You need to be listening. You need to be, and it's like for some of us, we can't pay attention unless we're distracted by something because it actually helps us focus. So, Lori's crochet. So just know I see you and hear you. I was never the one as a teacher. If I had a student who was like drawing when I was lecturing, I never said a word. Because I was like, that person is probably paying better attention to me than anybody else in this room. Anyway. Okay, so I'm going to say that when I talk about holographic healing and interdimensional healing, I want you to think about it this way. Are you ready? Just think about it as distance healing. That will take all the mumbo jumbo, what's a hologram or a holograph, right? Interdimensional, what does that mean? What this means is that it is possible to heal someone if they're not in the same room as you. That also means, just like Reiki, Carol Taylor, it's exactly right. That also means, and this is where I want you to really pay attention because this is where it could get weird, but I'm hoping it doesn't. That also means it is possible for you to heal your present you using other versions of you past, present, future that also exist, but outside of space and time. Okay. Does that make sense? So there are, and I'm going to take it a step further, because this is going to blow your mind for a minute. But I believe this to be true. All time is now, okay? So imagine that all of the, what I call crucibles in your life, all the moments when you had to make a decision. Am I going to take this job or that job? Am I going to marry this person or break up with them? Am I going to have a child, not have a child? Am I going to get well or stay sick? All of those big decision points in your life, I call them crucibles. Because in chemistry, a crucible is something that you put a liquid or a compound into, and then you heat it, and it transforms into something different. So those are the moments in life where they heat you a little bit, and they change you into something that you weren't before. Okay, so those are the crucible moments. What I believe to be true is that there are actually other simultaneous lifetimes happening in this moment where you made both choices. You're living the choice that you think that you made. But there are other iterations of you in the multiverse also living out other possible outcomes, which is what is deja vu. Like that thing that you feel like you've done before, you have done it before. And in fact, you're doing it before. You did it before, but now in the present. So that person where you're like, what would it have been like if I did say yes and did marry him? Somewhere, I believe it's possible that you are actually married to that person and living out that life and having to negotiate that. And sometimes you can drop in. Isn't it interesting? I had an experience this morning. I had this complete deja vu moment back to when my kids were small. And I actually went back into the exact moment, the exact memory. Like I flew through the matrix and I ended up in the booth, in the restaurant, like watching my kids have that exact same argument over their meal. And when I pulled myself out of it, I went in so deep into that moment, which is still happening somewhere else in time outside of time. When I went to pull myself out of that moment, I was so tired. You know, it's like when you really go in and pierce the you know, you create a wrinkle in time, to use that famous phrase. In my experience, Donna, you can't get there and stay there. Well, you can, but that's sort of like, sometimes, honestly, that's what I think coma is. I'm really excited to teach you about the spiritual causes of physical disease and illness. I believe that coma is a willful choice to go back into a different hologram and stay there, and then some people never come out. So now you see why this is all sorts of sexy, right? Like, this is really interesting. All the things that we think are so terrible, like, oh, they're in a coma. People have really miraculous experiences in comatose states that they would tell you they absolutely do not regret and wish that they could have again. But meanwhile, the rest of us are outside watching them going, oh, that is so sad. And it's like, really? Okay, so let's go back to the topic at hand. They're just in a different reality, and they're in a different dimension, and we don't understand it. It's suspended time. It's just like there's other sorts of suspended time, too. Like I have friends who are going through IVF, and they've got, you know, their babies on ice, right? They've got these eggs. And they're trying to decide if they're going to use them. So the eggs are frozen at 6 weeks conception, 7 weeks conception, something like that. And they exist. I mean, as soon as they're unfrozen, that is a life, right? But they're suspended in time, awaiting a living human choice about whether that life is the life that will become. You know, it's like, it's so interesting. And so NDEs are the same thing. I've had an NDE, and I know a lot of you have too, right? Mine was during oral surgery, but what I said during my NDE was, I don't want to come back unless my kids need me. If my kids will be okay, take me now. As I was in such a good place, I was like, oh, wow, this is it. And this was like 6.5 years ago. A near-death experience is what an NDE is. And as soon as I said, I don't want to come back unless my kids need me, as soon as I said that, I heard, clear, we're losing her, clear, clear, clear. And so a lot of us have had those experiences, and they're very, very, very powerful. And a lot of us can tell you that it's so amazing that you sometimes are like, only if I have to, do I want to come back from that. Pretty incredible. Dream states can take you almost as close, right? I mean, literally, that moment when I was like, unless they need me, please, just please. And it was, boom, clear, we're losing her. And so what I want to tell you is this about our work tonight. First of all of life comes back to the seed of life, which is actually going to be our image, our sacred geometric symbol for the upcoming month of work in Soul Shift. And so I think that the timing is pretty divine, what we're talking about tonight, even though it wasn't really planned, like, oh, we should do this bonus class on holographic healing now because we're about to talk about the seed of life, and then it's all going to make sense. But of course, because this class was channeled, I do believe it's in someone else's hands, and I don't think I'm driving the bus. But it's still cool to get those little hits of inspiration and magic that come through. So I want you to think about holographic healing as distanced healing. And I want you to think about the fact that there are, I would say, infinite iterations of you in the universe, all operational at this time. And so what you need to do when you're facing a health challenge of any kind is you need to isolate. And there's lots of different words that we use to describe this process, like recoding, right, of your DNA. You need to isolate whatever is flawed or unhealthy or blocked. Whatever's happening to you right now, you need to isolate that exact portion of your DNA or that exact cellular structure in a healthy hologram of yourself and do an energetic transplant. And that involves working with your spirit guides. That involves working with crystals, essential oils. And what we do with the oils and the crystals, just so you know, at least in my experience, Oya is sitting on red jasper and clear quartz, which is awesome. Well, Heidi and I, sometimes what I experience is that when I come close to something that feels true to me, especially if it reminds me of old wisdom that I used to know, and it's like, oh my God, I know this. I already know this. Like, I already remember this. That's when I start to tear up, because it's like you're not learning something new. You're remembering something old. And it's kind of a powerful moment when that happens. No, so Michelle, it's not, you're not taking what's not working in you and putting it into that other hologram of you. It's possible. It's not, again, it's sort of three-dimensional of us to think that, like, oh, I take what's good out and I put what's sick back in. You take what's healthy out of that holograph or that hologram, and it basically alchemizes, it neutralizes whatever is out of alignment in your system right now. Energy, it's I'm trying to think of the phrase I want to share with you. It's a deficit model. 3D is a deficit model, and I swear to you all, like, this will be the final frontier when we realize, and a lot of you do medicine work, so you understand what I'm talking about because you've seen it. The universe is infinite, but our human consciousness is finite, and so we project finite consciousness onto an infinite universe. And then when you go and you have a veil thinning experience, like you see the multiverse for what it is, you're like, holy shit, or my near-death experience, which was a profound experience where I wasn't working with medicine. I simply lost consciousness and it felt like I fell off the planet for a minute, but I fell into this like light tunnel that everybody talks about. And so what you will see either when you die or when you work with medicine or if you have a near-death experience is the absolute infinite nature of the universe, and it makes you come back to this life and go, oh my God, if that's real, and I would tell you that it is, if that's real, then 90% of my thoughts are so limited that as a human I can hardly begin to understand how limited they are. So a human awareness, right, of what we're talking about would be like, oh, there's a healthy version of me and like an ill version of me or whatever. So let me go take what's healthy out, which means there's nothing left for that other hologram. When the reality is that you're not taking anything from it. It's almost like it's beaming that energy to you. Because it's holographic. This is all happening through light. That's the main thing you need to understand. This is light therapy. This is light therapy, color therapy, sound therapy, scent therapy, and energy therapy. Like this is the combination, the amalgamation of all of those tools put together. And so it isn't a technical surgery. In English we have to come up with words to describe this. So we talk about psychic surgery, right, or holographic surgery. But it really isn't the taking out and replacing. It's simply a beaming of a different frequency to your body to entrain it, to remind it of what a healed state looks, feels, smells, tastes like. Does that make sense? That's right, Colin. It's a bringing in, or it's an attracting to. It is. It's frequency therapy. And so we can do it all different kinds of ways. And I like to work with people in different ways too. Some people are scent people, so I love working with oils and potions with them because it's like that's their way in to be able to understand what I'm telling you, because they're clairaudience, right? They're clear smelling, and so they can smell their way into healing. They can tell when something is going to soothe them. They know when they've got the right plant medicine in their hands. You know, most shaman are clairaudience. That is an incredible soul gift because you can smell when you've got the right tools. Some shaman are clairgustant. They know when they put it in their mouth. It's like, that's exactly what I needed, right? Too much of that, not enough of that, whatever. They're clairsentient, right? They can feel when a body is out of alignment. I've shared with you before my MD friend and my internist. He's my personal doctor who works with dolphins and sound frequency. And he's taken patients to work with the dolphins in Bimini, and the dolphins diagnose illness. They'll go and they'll sort of like, I can't remember what they call it, pointing or tipping, and they move into an area on a body, and then when doctors scan it, it's like they find, whether it's pregnancy, they can find any disturbance in the force. So whether it's pregnancy or disease or illness or anything, dolphins can scan you and instantly know if there is some kind of shift in the field, in your own personal energetic field, and they won't move away from it until you signal to them that you've seen it. And this is a medical doctor who's been practicing for almost 40 years who does this work here in Los Angeles. And he's not woo-woo. he's open-minded, but he's not super woo-woo, right? That's right. So I share all of this with you to kind of prepare you for the rest of what we're going to be talking about today. So at the base of your DNA, if you were to take a cross-section of your DNA, which is deoxyribonucleic acid, ribonucleic acid. It's basically, your DNA is a rope of energy, right? It's sort of it's a twisted rope. And if you take a slice of that rope, it's the seed of life. The seed of life is 8 circles of light, okay? I'm sorry, 7 circles of light. And 7 is the number of chakras that you have. So you have 7 chakras, and you have 7 of these light rays, these activated light rays. So I need you to hold on for a minute and really, I'm going to slow down so this is really clear. You have 7 chakras. Think multidimensionally with me now for a second, okay? But then you also have 7 light rays of energy that are spiraling through your sushumna, which is your energetic column that runs from your crown chakra to your root chakra. Okay, so think of this as like a band of light. And your DNA spirals right through that band of light. So there are 7 individual distinct energy centers, and through those 7 centers are 7 rays of light. And so in order to do holographic healing, you have to activate all 7 chakras, and all 7 rays of light. That's what the holograph is. Basically, because I really want to define terms. I don't want you to say, well, she said there's a hologram of me. I don't know what that means. What that means is there are other iterations of this particular 7 light spiral and these 7 energy centers, but vibrating at different frequencies at different times in your life. And so what 3D people do when they want to do holographic healing is they say, well, get a picture of yourself when you were in perfect health and put it on your refrigerator. And every day, look at that picture and imagine that you are still in that scene, right? You still look like that, you still feel like that. Or get a picture of yourself when you were at your ideal weight and put that on your refrigerator. That is a 3D muggle version of what I'm talking about with you right now. Okay? That's the best that we can do in a 3D world, to say that you, that healthy version of you, that thinner version of you, whatever it is, that version of you still exists. And you can entrain to that same frequency and return to that state of health. Or if you wanted, you could return to that state of disease. I mean, this works both ways. I'm talking to you about healing now, right? And so energy flows through this 7 light spiral, right? These are the meridians. This is your chi or your ki. This is where your life force is contained. And everybody's flows slightly differently, and everybody's chakras are at a different level of clarity and function, and the extent to which they all work in synchronicity together. Some people's chakras are blocked, right? Well, Heidi, I don't think anybody would choose to go back to disease. But what I've seen people do, are you ready for this? Like, also mind-blowing, is I have seen people start to behave the way they behaved during times in their life when they were entrained to a different frequency and had a different experience of health. And when they start to pick up those old habits or those old patterns, they don't realize is that their health state at those times in their life was also entrained to that frequency. And so you see people devolve into old patterns and old ways of being, and all of a sudden they go back to the old state of health as well, because that is an existing hologram. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Okay, and you don't have to take all from one. You can take the mental health from this time in your life, and the physical health from that time in your life, and the spiritual health from this other time in your life. It's like it's a little bit of a buffet, but you have to be a conscious consumer of these energies and do this work in a good way. So the crystals that I put in your set, if you have the set, and by the way, my team told me there's like a couple dozen sets left. So if after tonight's class you want the set, it's still in the shop. I don't think we're going to have any more of the sets for quite a while after that, because we have these little mini Vogels made just for the set. And so we're really limited on the quantity of these. But if you want the holographic gemstone set, it is on sagegoddess.com. So I'm going to walk you through what the tools are, and then some techniques that you can use to do this work. And one thing I want to tell you, one little technique that I have learned from teachers and also in my own practice is when you are harvesting from holograms, okay? Cindy says she's been doing this without realizing it, so it's interesting that, and some of you are doing that, right? Like, that's your intuition. You're following your intuition, and so it's leading you to work with these tools and techniques, even if you didn't know like what you were doing. That's right, and I don't ever entrain backward. There really isn't a time in my life when I've felt better or had more peace or felt more aligned with my purpose than I do right now. Just a pretty bold statement to make, but I really like right now. But I also worked really hard to get where I am right now, energetically speaking. And so I'm not really interested in going back. I wouldn't go back and be a 20 or 25-year-old me for anything. And if you're not there yet, you'll get there. You will. Okay, so if you take your writing hand, if you're right-handed, that's right hand, which is for me. If you're left-handed, it's your left hand. Isn't that beautiful? I'm really proud of you guys for being in your highest iteration right now. Like, that's a huge achievement. It's a huge accomplishment. You should be really proud of yourself. Okay, whatever your writing hand is, I'm going to help you create an energetic central line. And so when you're doing the work that we're doing tonight, it's really good if you can hold your writing hand to your heart, not over it, not on the boob, but toward the boob, okay, like this, because that will help you create a central line and hold your energy, your own energy field, central and stable while you harvest, okay? It sort of drops you in, it connects you with your heart chakra, it connects you with the center of your energy field. And so this is also a really good energetic trick if you're having anxiety or fear. It automatically brings you into present time. You can use both hands, but what I found is it's more powerful if you just use your dominant hand, your writing hand. Does that make sense? Even if you try to balance, and oh my goodness, if you add quartz to the mix, like if you try to balance on one leg, I do a lot, so it's not hard for me, but if it's hard for you, you can try balancing on one leg without doing it, and then try balancing on one leg with your dominant hand over your heart. You will not have trouble with balance. It's really an amazing thing. But that central line modality is a very powerful trick. It's interesting, right? Okay, so that's a good trick for you to use. And if you're ever around here, you'll see me sometimes. I'm just sort of off in a corner like... taking a breath, taking a minute, right? It's okay. It's okay if your hand's pointing down. It's totally fine, right? Isn't it beautiful? It's the midline. It's the central line. Okay. So the hologram perfume, by the way, that was in the kit, I just want to tell you what I made and why I made it. Blue Tansy is the highest vibrational essential oil on the planet. And this is a blend of blue tansy with opoponax and geranium. Geranium is the most powerful essential oil healer of the central nervous system, which is another way of saying the sushumna or central column that I've ever experienced. Geranium does this. It activates the heart chakra and it opens the entire channel. Blue tansy raises the frequency and vibration, and opoponax activates all the lower chakras. So what this blend does is it basically stretches out your central column. So if you have those oils, you can make your own. Or if you don't have it, you can work with this particular blend. So you want to anoint with that. It's kind of fun too when you're anointing with your perfume. Team SG, if we have any more of the hologram perfume, maybe we could do a drop down. You could always ask product if we have enough, because I know the stone set is in somewhat more limited supply than the perfume. Might be good to check with them. You might consider drawing the double helix on your arm, which is a beautiful way of anointing with your oils and calling in the energy. Calms you down, brings you into present time. Feels really good, actually, because it's a little warm in the room. Plus it just smells amazing. A little bit at your third eye for what you know. I'm so glad you guys are grateful for the notes. Well, I want you to be able to focus. I don't want you trying to catch up. I want you to be able to pay attention. Paying attention and being present is the biggest part of magic in my experience. Okay, so I want you to think about, and I'm not going to decide for you, but I want you to think about assigning, in your stone set you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 stones, because I don't want you to think about this as one of the stones in the set, because this is your tool, okay? And later on this year, when I start to teach you about psychic surgery, you're going to be really glad you have this. And you don't need a big Vogel. This can be the only Vogel that you have. So the other stones in the set, I'm going to walk you through them now. I want you to think about which of these stones you want to choose to represent your 7 rays of light energy, the 7 circles in your seed of life. And it'd be really nice, I don't want to choose for you, but it'd be really nice if you assigned 1 stone to each ray of light, just based on your own intuition, okay? And so the 7 stones, just going kind of in order, optical calcite raises your vibration, but it does it very slowly. And optical calcite shows you what's hidden from your view. So that's why it's a really powerful stone of interdimensional healing. If you look at something through optical calcite from the right direction, it actually will be invisible to you. And so it can make things visible or invisible depending on your position. And so you can work with optical calcite, again, to see what is invisible, to understand what you don't understand today, and to raise your vibration and heighten your awareness. And so it's a really powerful stone for you to work with. I had optical calcite generators. I don't have them anymore, but I saved one for myself because they were so beautiful. And they had full holograms inside of them. Do you remember those? I mean, where you would turn it and it was like a wall of light inside of those generators. I've never quite seen anything like them. And so it's double vision, triple vision. So Michelle, do you know why it's totally fine if yours broke? Because optical calcite, all crystals break along the lines of their original crystal structure. And so no matter how you break optical calcite, it still retains its core crystal structure, so you have nothing to worry about. Yeah, mini chakra pyramids would totally work for this too. You know what I mean? If you want to, I want you to basically choose 7 stones. Some of the stones that I'm talking about today you won't have in a 7 chakra pyramid set, so just be aware of that. These are very specific stones, but these are stones that I have worked with to do this work. So it's just, it's really up to you and your intuition, what feels right, what resonates with you. Okay, the next stone is labradorite. I might sneeze in a minute. There's so many smells in the room right now. I don't know what I'm mildly reacting to. So labradorite, also a third eye stone. In fact, a lot of the stones in this kit are third eye stones. But this is about rebooting. Labradorite is the new moonstone, right? For new beginnings, new intentions. But it's the reboot. It's the start over. It's the do-over stone. And so this is my favorite stone for cultivating a new habit, a new level of health, a new whatever it is that you are that you're cultivating that's different from your current state. In coaching, we call it ideal state. Like this is you moving into a different state of awareness and being. Okay. Let's see. The next stone is aura quartz. This is angel aura quartz. This is the bridging stone between this realm and the upper realms. And I'm a huge believer in aura quartz. I was going to show you. That's why I have a wand. If you become an aura lover and you start doing a lot of auric work and interdimensional work, which means basically distance healing through holograms, you're going to want to collect some aura quartz pieces because they are instant clearing tools for the auric field. I think this is my one with all of the record keepers on it. I can't remember which one it was. It has all of them. Oh no, it's the quartz point actually on this wand, if I recall. That has all the record keepers on it. Yeah, it sure does. The quartz point that she used on this particular aura wand. This is my friend who makes these, so we'll talk about how to use this. And basically with aura, what you just want to do is go over the auric field, just like obsidian, really. But what aura is doing is not only sealing the auric perforations, any tears or any holes in your aura from negative energy coming your way, or just geothermic, geopathic stress. But what it also does is it seals it with the white light of, whether you call it Holy Spirit light, Christ light, the light of Archangel Michael. It seals it with that light. And so it's a very powerful tool for protecting your auric space. And I like to use aura quartz. You can wear it, which is a really beautiful way to work with it too. Like these pieces in your kit would be beautiful if you had them wire wrapped. This one's almost triangular. Yeah, and you can use it to clear your Reiki clients. Love that so much. So absolutely. Danbarite is a stone that we use to remove. So this is one of the psychic surgery stones. It can remove impurities or damage from the auric field. It can remove evidence of disease in the body. And so what I like to do with kyanite or Danbarite, there's a tiny piece in your set. This is my Big Mama Danbarite. And so what I like to do is go in and you actually, I mean, like if you're having pain, I had a really bad IV last week and she popped my vein, which is why I had a Band-Aid on all last week. I was really badly bruised. And so what I was doing at night was I was just soothing the area and removing any damage or trauma to the vein and sealing the vein shut. And then I was using aura to go through and call in beautiful white light. Green light of healing is the other light ray that you can use to heal damaged tissue. And just soothing and calming it. And then using essential oil therapy, which is really good, especially for vein work, right? Yeah, that is the big mama. Isn't she beautiful? She's a natural twin. Big old pink dambarite. Yeah, usually my IVs go pretty smoothly, but it didn't last week. And the crystals helped a lot. And again, it was calling in a hologram of a healthy vein there that was not damaged. And so I kept calling that in. And normally, because I'm very light-skinned and I bruise really easily, normally when I have that kind of damage to a vein, because it was pretty bad, it would take multiple weeks, 2-3 weeks for it to get better. I was ready to take the Band-Aid off after about 4 days, which was pretty miraculous. So your crystals really do work. And that would be good Tracy glass ball for a muscle tear. I would also use dambarite. I would use dambarite to it's basically like a disinfectant, right? Like get any of the wounding out of there. Then I would use aura. And I would also use bloodstone. I'm feeling like bloodstone for you. When you have a muscle tear or a muscle injury, I like to take bloodstone and actually apply it to the area. If you can wrap it in a piece of cloth, or some I've had clients who just put a rubber band around their arm to hold it on. And then you think of your aura as like a sealing agent, like going in, smoothing out, touching up, refining. And you can also, if you have a wand, you can call that energy in and direct it down. And I like to, when I'm working with crystals, I like to actually apply the crystals to the skin. But like in the case of mine, having a little tumbled piece is great because you can just literally apply it and then hold it. Herniated disc, bloodstone, anything with pain or trauma is going to respond to bloodstone. It's really, really helpful. Bursitis too. For nerve pain, now you're getting into the realm of sugilite and eudialyte. And those are the two most powerful stones you can work with for neuropathy of any kind. And I get neuropathy, so I really understand. I have a flat piece of sugilite at home that I work with and a flat, big, kind of heavy flat piece of eudialyte. And those are the most powerful nerve pain April soothers. Digestive issues respond really, really well to bronzite, which is one of the stones that's in your holographic kit. This is bronzite. It's very soothing. Your intestine, keep in mind your intestine is your other brain. It is practically thinking for you. And it is holding. Everything that you feel goes right to your gut, right? When somebody really hurts your feelings, you feel it two places. You feel like they kicked you in the gut and stabbed you in the heart, right? And that's because those are the two places where you hold emotion in your body. And that's why so many empaths have intestinal problems, right? Is because of that. So bronzite is really, really good for stomach discomfort. So is citrine. Any of the solar plexus stones are really, really good. But you want to make sure you're using natural citrine and not baked citrine. That's really important. Okay, so let me tell you about some of the other stones. The gray stone, this one is called Cradle of Humankind. This is Cradle of Humankind. And this is ash, human ash. I don't want to freak you out, but I actually have people who come to me for Cradle of Humankind because we're one of the few people who have it. It isn't a very common material for you to find. It comes from Africa. I'll read you what they actually say about Cradle of Humankind. It's found in caves in South Africa's Cradle of Humankind, which is an actual physical place. That's where the original inhabitants of Earth are entombed, and their remains have been fossilized over millions of years. And so this is, right? This is ancestral medicine. And so this is a really powerful healer, because what you can do with this particular crystal is work with that ancestral wisdom, because they can show you the lineage of your wounding and your illness and disease in your life. Like, ask the ancestors. Don't you wish you had your grandmothers and great grandmothers and great great grandmothers to say, did you have that? Well, what about this? This is your stone to work with now, to ask those questions that you thought you couldn't ask anymore because you don't have them around, right? Seriously big ancestral magic, deep African, in the earth, ancestral bones. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this too. Okay. Green moonstone, we just brought home from Tucson and just unpacked it about a month ago. This is the only, and if you hold it in the light, it really does have that light play. This is lunar energy for your heart chakra. And so why is that important? Because this is the central portion of your healing hologram. Everything begins at your heart. Your intestine is a second brain, but your heart is the ultimate regulator of your energy. And so if your heart chakra isn't functioning well, you're not going to be able to do this work effectively at all. It begins with the heart and it ends with the heart. Just like that's what we find so empty about modern medicine, right? Is it's like, why don't we acknowledge the role of feelings in disease and illness, and the fact that if we carry around grudges and negative energy for a lifetime, that's going to make our bodies a really strong and good breeding ground for disease, but we don't talk about that. So this is the green moonstone in your kit that looks like this, and definitely make sure you look at it in the light. It's pretty magical. I bought everything I could in Tucson. There was only one source of it in the world this year, green moonstone. Isn't that cool? So this is green moonstone. It's in the interdimensional healing set that I offered you. But keep in mind, there's only like 3 dozen of those sets, so if you don't get one, that's okay. Don't feel bad. And then, what did I not talk about? Oh, blue apatite. Blue apatite in ancient Greece was thought to, again, show you hidden information, which is why I'm offering it to you. It also helps to control appetite and blood sugar, so it regulates some of the autonomic functions of your body, but it also helps you see what is unseen. And again, that's the whole point of holographic healing, is being able to see energy so that you can discern what is healed energy and what is unhealed energy, and how do you harvest from something that is healed and allow it to recalibrate and transmute something in you that is no longer healthy, and constantly pulling in from those holograms. I absolutely believe, by the way, that people who age really well, and you're like, how do they age so well, know how to do what we're talking about today almost intuitively. Like, they absolutely believe, no, there's still a perfectly healthy version of me, and all I need to do is figure out whatever code is encrypted in that healthier version of me and integrate that code into my existing energetic structure. Does that make sense? Okay, and then the last stone is amphibole quartz, which looks like this. And amphibole is kind of the bright orange material. I brought this home from Tucson just for this kit too, by the way, because you can only find amphibole quartz in one pocket of one mine in Minas Gerais, Brazil. It's a super, super, super angelic material. Connects you to your spirit guides, probably more powerfully than almost anything else. When people say, what do I need to do to work with my spirit guides? You need amphibole and quartz. And so it's for lucid dreaming, brings energies of peace and tranquility, helps to relax an anxious mind. And it's also really important because when you're doing healing work, if you can't get grounded and peaceful, it's not going to happen. How good are you at doing healing work when you're all stressed and anxious and afraid? Like, you're not in service to anything or anyone when you're coming from that place. And so what I find with amphibole is it's sort of like, it raises, but it also softens my vibration and helps to remind me that I'm not the source of the healing. I'm just a channel for it. My job is to open the biggest, widest channel I can so that energy flows through me. And that's what you're trying to do in Soul Shift right now. That's why this kit's really good for you. You're trying to open the biggest, widest channel you can so that more energy flows through you at less of a cost to your body, mind, and spirit. Which is going to mean that your life is happier, that your family is happier, that you are happier. Okay, so what you want to do with these stones is, if you want to work with all 9, or you want to just choose the 7 that resonate most with you, is you want to grid your chair or your space with it. We're just going to do a quick exercise. And so I'm just going to place them all around my seat. I like to place them down clockwise and then remove them counterclockwise. And you might want to keep your Dambarite with you too, your Vogel and your Dambarite. Okay. And again, size doesn't matter. I've got a big mama Dambarite, but you can do just as good work with your point of your Dambarite. You do not need a bigger piece. You've got exactly what you need. Oh, Bronzite is I talked a little bit about Bronzite. Bronzite is comforts you emotionally. It helps you to release old wounds. So the reason Bronzite is a really important holographic healer is there may be some part of you subconsciously that doesn't want to let go of disease or illness, because a lot of us have figured out how to make it serve us. Shitty, but we have. Maybe we get pity, maybe we get money, maybe, I don't know, but a lot of people benefit from their illnesses. And so Bronzite helps you consciously and subconsciously release whatever attachment you have. And you could. So, Teresa, if you had your Chimpy stones, what I would do is I would put them in between your other stones. How many Chimpy stones are there? 7, right, in the basic set. 7 chakras, 7 circles in the seed of life, which is the cross-section of your DNA strand, right? 7, 7, 7, 7. It's really, really, really powerful number. And when you start to break down the origins of life and you see that 7 repeats, it's really powerful, right? It's really, really, really cool. Okay, now I want you to take a moment. And what you can do too, if you have your Vogel, is you can put it right above your head to call in energies of the upper dimensions, the angelic gateways, the dimensions beyond this one, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way through. And imagine pulling a string of energy up above you, stretching out. Again, your job is to expand your column and stretch your column. That's how you open a wider energetic field. That's how you run more energy. That's how you expand your intuition. I mean, it's everything that you guys ask me all the time is directly related to what we're talking about tonight. I want to be more psychic. I want to have more visions. I want to be a better healer. I want to know what to do with my partner. It's like up and out. Just imagine pulling that thread of energy, connecting you to the upper realms, and then place it right beneath you, beneath your root chakra. And imagine drawing a similar line, but down through the layers of rock and soil and time to the center of the earth. And again, expanding your channel down and widening it out. Pushing it out through your hips, out as far as you can imagine below you, and then pulling that thread of energy down. And as you continue, imagine opening now through this wider channel, letting the root chakra like expand and take up the space, and letting that sacral chakra take up all of that room now, and expanding, pushing that solar plexus out and allowing that heart space to expand. Like, do you feel the spaciousness of everything now? Third eye, that screen gets really big now. That field of vision expands, and then that crown chakra just opening you up to all that's above. And I want you to locate the place in your body or space in your body where you have a need for healing. Right? Some physical pain, maybe emotional pain, spiritual pain. Where is it right this very minute? And now I want you can work with your spirit guides and ask them to help you, or you can imagine it on your own, but I want you to pull up now, almost like you're watching it on a screen in front of you. pull up a hologram or an image of yourself at a time in your life when you did not have this pain. It could be yesterday, it could be 6 months ago, it could be 20 years ago. But I want you to imagine yourself in a state of health and being where you did not experience this pain. And now you have two choices. You can take your Danbarite and actually go into the area in your energetic field where that pain exists and go in and remove. And for me, it's always like kind of a scooping motion with the terminated point to just go in and imagine removing that pain. And then any pain that you remove in your body, whether it's migraine pain or anything else, I want you to imagine sending it down through your lowest chakra down into the very center of the earth. So you're removing that pain and then using that open channel into the earth as a vortex point. And just send it down. Anything in your body that isn't serving you, just removing, shifting, allowing, creating space. Or when you remove energy, you create space. So I'm just working with my sciatic, which is my ongoing challenge of choice. And just sending that discomfort down through the channel, down into the center of the earth, where it can be transformed and transmuted into usable light energy. And taking a moment to just enjoy being in a state where there's less of the physical discomfort. And now I want you to bring your attention to that hologram that you pulled up of that state before the current state, the state when there wasn't that pain, that discomfort. And I want you to make direct contact with that holographic image of yourself. Crystallize as much as you can about that time, that space, that energy, that comfort. And I want you to imagine extending a beam of light from you in your current state to that hologram of yourself. Sometimes I like to attach the beam of light right where I'm trying to transform. So you can attach that beam of light from your lower back if you're doing work like I'm doing, or from your heart, or from your third eye, anywhere you need to transform the energy and receive a healed iteration of that pain. And so through that channel of light from your current state to your ideal state, I want you to ask your spirit guides, ask that other version of yourself to beam over any codes, any sources of light energy, color energy, scent energy, sound energy, any energies that need to be received by you in your current state in order to achieve the same level of comfort and healing as you experienced then. And really feel that light, that beam of light now filling. It's like it's replacing what you just removed is being replaced by this new source of light. And sometimes when you're doing this, you'll actually see like almost like computer code, or you'll see an expansion of light in that area, or you'll get very warm in that area. If you try to put your hands around it, sometimes you can feel the warmth, like it'll be warmer over that part of your body than it is over other parts of your body. However you interpret that increase of energy flow. And just creating space now for healing, for the codes, for the insight, for the light therapy, for the frequency therapy to reach you, attuning you, aligning you, and training you to a different frequency for total health and wellness and comfort in your body now. And stay with your breath there for just a minute. Really allow the complete transmission of that light, that frequency to reach you. And give your spirit guides permission. We give you permission, spirit guides, on our behalf to integrate these new codes for health and wellness, to transform these low vibrations to transmute and to compost the energies that we have sent your way, and to replace them with a version of ourselves that is perfectly well and whole in this moment. Amen, I hope. So it is. We receive this healing with gratitude today. And then I like to imagine that new iteration of ourselves, sending that energy over, allowing that energy then to circle around my entire double helix of DNA, just sending a beam of beautiful white light or high frequency energy, and just let it rotate around the entire column, bathing every chakra in that light. And we receive this healing today with gratitude and with humility. Allowing it to extend through our upper chakras and allowing it to be grounded into our body through the lower chakras. And then what we're going to be talking about with Vogels in an upcoming session of Soul Shift is how to, it's basically ascending and receiving of energy. So it's what we do is almost the infinity loop when we work with a Vogel. It's going in to heal the wound and going out to remove what energy needs to be released. In to heal and out to remove. But we'll do that as a second session because I really want to spend time doing that, and I might do kind of a live demonstration too while we do that bonus class. So I want to spend a whole extra session focusing on the magic of the Vogels. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, well, and Athena Max says she often sees a third strand. When she sees the DNA, the double helix, she often sees a third strand. And that could be, I mean, I've seen that too in my own meditations and visualizations. And sometimes, like, the only way to describe a medical miracle is that you somehow have access to another source of energy. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like extra Band-Aids or extra parts or like extra, you know what I mean? When you buy IKEA furniture and it comes with extra screws, you know, it's like maybe you came with extra parts. And I do think the healers sometimes do. If you think about it, how else can we actually do the work that we do if we don't have backup reserves? So I do think sometimes we do. And so when my doctor said to me a couple of weeks ago, she's like, look, I don't know what you do or whether it works, but all I can tell you is you're healthier than most of my patients who are at the same level of disease as you are. It's like, you know what? I do think that some of us have a little extra juice. And is that because we intended it to be so? Is it because we're doing work on the planet that requires that we have some extra battery pack? It's like our phones came with an extra battery pack. So should you pay attention to it? Yes, you should. So I think it's a gift. And however you move energy is good. Some people exercise, but not everyone needs to exercise to move energy. I don't need to exercise to move energy. But some people, they physically have to go run to get the endorphins going. I can get endorphins going just by thinking about something and focusing my attention on something. And I know how to consciously raise my metabolism without moving. But that's because I know how to move energy. That's right. I mean, an orgasm raises your basal metabolism too, right? So it's like people don't realize that they can move energy with what they eat or what they think or how they breathe, right? I can also raise my metabolism through breathing without moving, right? And so it's like it's really starting to understand how complex your body is, and that while some people need to go run 2 miles to get an endorphin boost, the rest of us just need to breathe. And we can get there just as fast, right? Okay. Whew. So that was 101. Holographic and interdimensional healing. That's right. I love yoga and pranayama. You know, pranic breathing is so good for you. Right? Like, that's what I've taught you in breath work, is how to do pranic breathing. And it really does center you. It's just like the central, you know, creating the central line energetically with your hand. It's the same exact exercise, right? Did you guys enjoy it? Yeah. So Colleen, no. So if you want to do access multiple points, while you're in that state, you just continue. And you can open a circle and call the directions in. You can, work with other tools like incense and things to open your space. I don't know if you saw the incense I made today. Did you see the story about it? When I made this incense, and I can tell you, because Amanda, who heads design for Sage Goddess, was like, holy shit. The light was pouring in from overhead, which it only does for like an hour each day. And when I finished blending all the powders together, it looked like the painted mountain in Peru, or the Rainbow Mountain, like identical to the pictures that you see online. Isn't it incredible? So anyway, but you can use tools like that to open sacred space and to prepare your mind and your body and your spirit. I do this stuff so fast. When I'm having pain now, I go to center line. I focus on the area where I'm having discomfort, and I imagine a hologram of an iteration of me without that discomfort, and I just open the lines to be able to receive that energy. And I just imagine, and again, having double terminated quartz does help, because you can literally visualize the send and receive. And then as you get more experienced with your techniques, which is why a lot of us travel, I thought this was a really good travel size of the Vogel for you. Because that way, if you carry it in your purse, you can just do this while you're on the go. Or, your child's like, I have a headache, and you're like, sit still. It becomes a really quick, easy way for you to do magical work. And it'll become second nature to you. And my kids know, like, when I pull this out, they're like, oh, good, she's got the thing. Right? Boom, 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 boom. Done. Don't take Advil. Wait for me. Super fun. So that's why, and a lot of us have two Vogels. I have two Vogels that I work with, a little one and then a bigger one. My bigger one, though, is only about this big. So it's not, I don't work with huge tools because I like to be able to take them with me when I travel and I'm on the go. And Sharon asked, can you hurt someone? Not if your intention is to be in service to their highest good. I don't believe you can. But I will tell you, and this is always my mantra, like, you got to know who you serve and what you serve. Because if your intention is to cause harm, then yes, you can. And people do. And sometimes people do it subconsciously or unconsciously because they don't realize that their intentions are not aligned with healing. So it's like, be very careful who you go for who you go to for healing work. Always ask permission. That's right, Colin. Like, I don't go around healing people without their permission or their knowledge or their awareness. Make sure you set an intention to create healing in service of the highest good of the body, mind, and spirit of the person for whom you're doing that work. Ask to be a good, clear, and open channel. Use your smudging herbs to clear the space before you begin, like I did today. Like, all those are things that you do to become a good ethical practitioner too. But when I've gone to people, even for massage, because massage is very spiritual, and so sometimes I will go to someone I don't know, not very often, and I haven't in years, but sometimes in the past I have. I'm fortunate now because I've got members of our community and people I know and love who do good body work. I don't have to go to strangers. But I've gotten up in the middle of a massage and gone out. Because I can tell that their intention is not to bring healing energy to the space, that their intention is to get this massage over so that their next person can be over so that they can go home. And that's not in alignment with unlocking codes for my healing. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I think it's really important to be careful about the work that you're doing. Right. Yeah, and we should talk about pan protection. It's a good idea. Well, Colin, the way I'm going to be talking about pan protection is through Reiki this year. Because that Reiki 1 will probably come to you around July. I'm doing a combined Reiki crystal healing set of classes. I'm doing Reiki 1 and 2 this year and Reiki 3 and 4 next year. And so, because for me, really, Reiki is pan protection. But pan protection is this idea that you can call in spiritual protection that doesn't have to be maintained in an ongoing way. And that's what a lot of us do. And some people don't do it because they can feel like it's overprotective. But my philosophy is I'd rather be overprotected than underprotected in a world as sort of volatile and full of energetic landmines as the one that we live in today, with social media and energy just flowing everywhere all the time and lots of different intentions, in the mix. And so we will come back and talk about pan protection, but mostly in the context of Reiki, because what I have found especially the last couple of years. Like my Reiki practice has really deepened in the last 3 or 4 years. I was first attuned when I was like 18, 19 years old. And it was kind of not a great experience. So I've gone through a process of being reattuned because it wasn't the right fit at the time. But I'm glad I did it. But ever since that time, I've really thought about, like, do we really need all of this protection, like mumbo jumbo, right? If we're walking in spirit and we know who and what we're serving, and we work with the highest divine light, and we channel energy streams like Reiki, I think that's basically all the protection that we need. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that in a few months when we get to Reiki training. Yeah, we briefly touched on PAM protection in January, but not to the extent that I would like to talk about it more, because it's really true. I think energetic clearing and protection work can be supplemented and supported by working with crystals and herbs and everything else. But ultimately, I think it's about the baseline frequency that you carry and what you decide that you're going to be in alignment to, because there are forces of good and there are forces of evil or darkness or whatever you want to call it on the planet. And ultimately, you have to decide, what do you plug in your plug into? What socket is it? And each person has to decide in their own time and in their own way what socket they're plugging into. And at some point you go, I don't think this is a good socket for me. And that's when you decide to unplug and move it into a different, And what makes a good socket for one person and a not aligned socket for somebody else is... There's no judgment there, but you really got to know, what are you plugging into. You have a source of energy that's flowing to you right now, but do you know what source it is? It's very important to be very clear about that. At least in my life, that's been the case. Aho to that. I unplug all the time, and then I replug in. I'm like, ooh, I want to come back and plug into you again, whatever you are, whatever that is. But I definitely unplug sometimes from people. It's like the spiritual equivalent of unfollowing somebody, right? It's like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. Don't need any more of that. It's very scary, and I will say, like, I hear stories all the time of what's happening in sort of shamanic, circles and stuff, and it's like people do take advantage of their power, and then some people get very seduced by a source of power that isn't in alignment with the highest good, because that energy can feel very seductive. But it's like, it's really about knowing who you are and knowing what you align to, and that there's a source of peace in that. And that's why I would say this is my favorite time of my life right now, because I know exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what my power source is, and it's good and clean, and it doesn't feel sticky or icky, and you know what I mean? It's not out of alignment. Is it perfect? No, but it feels really good for right now. And I think if you can get to a point where you say, this feels good, it feels clean, doesn't feel sticky, doesn't feel draining, feels like it's aligned with the highest good of all beings. And so thank you for that, Colin. Like, it really, really does feel good. And Cindy, if you're feeling tired right now, that's a good sign to you. Check what you're plugging into. Because if you're plugging into a higher source, you're not going to feel tired, you're going to feel energized. And so what are you plugging into that's draining from you, right? It has to feel good, not sticky. Yay, I'm glad you're here. Well, I'm going to say goodnight for now, because I'm bringing my Team SG up to the classroom in 10 minutes for our hangout time. It's to hang out and meditate a little bit and check in with them and see what's on their minds. So a little staff development coming up from 5:30 to 6. I'm glad you feel good and energized. That was my intention. So thank you for being here for part of this intro, at least, to interdimensional distance healing work. Practice. It's like everything else. Use these tools. Work with these tools. Use the virtual tools that I've given you, the techniques to use. Call your energy in. Start working with your center line. Start working actively with other holograms of yourself in other spaces and other times, and recognize that those are energy streams that are available to you right now. And so that's how a lot of us too work with aging energies. It's like tapping into our youthfulness and our vitality. And I've even done it with my skin. I mean, I do weird little experiments. Like, can I tap into my collagen level from 10 years ago and do visualizations? And I've seen my skin improve. Like, it's just, I don't think that we should underestimate the possibilities, right? Like, I don't know. I experiment with it and I just figure, what have I got to lose? Like, if it works, that's great. And if it doesn't, who cares? I think we can. All right, you guys. Lots of love from all of us here. We'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your evening.